Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
The temperatures are getting hot, and so is the news. So today on CityCast Las Vegas, it's me, co-host Sarah Lohman, and Andrew Corrali from the List.Vegas, and we're talking the mystery of the disappearing veterinarian, how one hedge fund bought up so much of our valley's housing, and is Vegas a cool city? Well, one survey says we are, but how? It's Friday, April 11th. I'm David Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Sarah, Andrew, welcome to the Friday News Roundup.
Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
So we usually do a hot headline, and then we replace that with the hot ledge line.
Hot ledge line.
And we were going to do one about this interesting book ban, AB 416, but something else crept out.
The book ban, just to be clear.
The book ban. Oh, my
It's
God.
a meta
yes.
ban. A meta ban.
Yeah, actually making it criminal to take books out of the library without getting a court order for obscenity. It's very interesting. But speaking of obscenity, a tape leaked of Governor Lombardo addressing all the recent protests that were happening in the streets of Las Vegas. Before I get to it, let me ask you both. How do you typically approach critiques or criticism about something that you've done or something that you've said or something that you've written?
Yeah, I consider it like an adult and respond to it in a constructive manner.
Me, I think, I went to art school for 5 years. It was a 5-year program. And I think the most valuable thing I learned was how to take critique, that you listen to it, you realize what applies to you and what can make you better, and you discard what you feel like is not valid.
Yeah, interesting. I too like to think as an adult that I acknowledge the criticism. I do some thoughtful introspection, and I always vow to do better if I can, right?
So what did Lombardo do?
Lombardo said to all the critique, no matter how light, gentle, or accurate it might be, he basically said to anyone who has a word for him, F you. And he didn't say F you. He said the whole word.
He said, specifically the quote was, they can F off.
Yeah,
So,
that's about right.
cool.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. He also stated without any evidence that all the protesters out there were paid. So you can't you can't trust what they say that anyone's even upset about anything.
Where
that
do
they're
I
all
get
paid.
that sweet check? I've been wanting to know for the past 8 years. Where do I get my protester money?
Yeah,
'Cause I
those
am out
Soros
here.
bucks. Where are the Soros
Where
bucks?
are they?
Yep,
Where is my
yep.
paycheck, George Soros?
Yeah.
It's always the tough guys who have the thinnest skin. So, right out of the BS right-wing playbook, that one. Paid protesters, Soros.
Yeah, I know. A lot of the people that I know went out, and I knew dozens, if not hundreds of people who went out. Some of them owe me money. So if they got paid, come on, y'all.
Pay it forward, Antifa.
Let me know, everybody.
All right. First story. The veterinarian who was in a little bit of hot water has now turned up missing, maybe? Sarah, what's going on?
It's a wild story, and I don't have a ton of answers here, but veterinarian Dr. Sean Frainer is both missing and under investigation. So he disappeared shortly after he issued an apology for kicking a horse in the head. Most of this reporting is from 8 News Now. So the horse's owner paid to have the colts gelded, which means castrated. And so he was paid to do this, and also you have to anesthetize the horses. The horse's owner watched him kick one of her colts in the head several times. They got got one on video.
Yeah.
Afterwards, the injured horse was taken to the Desert Pines Equine Center for treatment and was suffering from abrasions to the skull and other injuries related to this attempted gelding.
That's a real kick.
Yes, it's confirmed, and several injuries too.
And this is essentially like like a baby horse, right? A teen horse.
Yeah, I mean, the horse is big. This was a wild Mustang that was being essentially like re-domesticated. That was the idea here. She had rescued several of these colts and was going to start training them. Part of that process is to geld them. It calms them down a little bit. I know I sounded like a horse expert there, but I read it all this morning, although I was a horse girl growing up. So this was bad enough that the owner of the colt filed charges against Frainer for animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Frainer apologized, I believe on Facebook. It was a written apology, and where else? It's either Facebook or a photograph of your notes app. He said he was attempting to reposition the horse to help it breathe, but recognized he did kick the horse. He said he wished the situation had never happened. In another video from last week, it shows him jabbing a horse in the cheek with a syringe. This is like a large plastic syringe that's used to flush out a horse's nasal cavities. It's clearly an intentional punch. I would not look these videos up. They are really hard to see. His vet license has been suspended before in 2016 for a year because he would use scrap paper to handwrite medical records. And he also would give out prescriptions in plastic, like Ziploc baggies, with no record or documentation of how much medicine he was handing out. Another one of his clients said that he also mixed his own medication, quote unquote. Here's the twist.
There's a twist.
There's a twist. Tuesday afternoon, officials from Lake Mead confirmed they were searching for a missing person. Pretty soon thereafter, it was confirmed that person is Dr. Sean Frainer, the veterinarian. The effort has involved aerial, marine, and ground resources, and the officials of Lake Mead asked in a recent release that if you were in the Hemingway Harbor launch ramp area on Sunday, April 6th, and have any additional information, please call 888-653-0009. And that is all we know as of this recording.
Is he making a swim for it? Is he trying to get over the border? What's happening?
I don't know. I don't know if he's trying to disappear himself. I mean, it doesn't seem like kicking a horse is severe enough to want to like start a new life.
But, the way that online communities react, especially to animal cruelty, it's not completely out of the question that,
Did someone disappear him?
Right. Or he's, fleeing some, intense level of online, pitchforks and torches.
I am one to definitely be forgiving of the human experience, right? We've talked about like animal abandonment and things on here too, but like this man is just out there punching and kicking animals. It is wild. And I'm sure that this is maybe the first time it's been caught on video, but not the first time it's happened.
Maybe. But, as Andrew points out, like there's a big pitchfork community out there in social media that tends to, really come down hard, maybe disproportionately. I'm wondering if there are shifting narratives out there about the vet that have swayed some sympathies. Like, maybe he did something wrong, but I would imagine people are worried about his well-being right now.
His apology is much, much longer, and he describes what happened in detail from his perspective. He said that the horse was really wild, and he was like concerned for his life. And once the horse was anesthetized, it wasn't breathing well, and that's why he kicked it. But then he's also like, yeah, but I did kick it.
Another one of the maybe more subtle accusations that came out of his claims were that these horse owners are horse flippers. What are horse flippers, and what are the ethics of that practice?
So the basics of what I understand is, horses and wild Mustangs and burros, they're protected entities. They're protected by the federal government. But in certain cases, especially like environmental rehab, they want to get these horses out of nature, but not send them to slaughter. So there's an opportunity for owners to purchase or adopt young horses that can be re-domesticated, essentially, and then sold. What we have about the horse flipping information is what he put in. And I wasn't there, but it does seem like something he's throwing in to make the owner look more guilty. Whereas the story the owner told was like, I heard my mom yelling, and then I saw him kick my horse, and then my daughter recorded him kick my horse again.
Yeah, sounds a little bit like a desperate deflection.
But hey, you've heard about this. Andrew, didn't you used to live on a horse farm or a property or something?
Yeah, in a previous life, I
True.
was married
Are
to
you a
a
horse
horse.
boy?
I was a horse person. Yeah, I actually helped birth a baby horse, and it was the most cosmically weird and disturbing thing that I ever
Oh
experienced.
my
And I will
God.
say that, you know, in my limited experience in having owned horses, the veterinary culture around, equine care and stuff like that is there's a Venn diagram that really overlaps much more considerably with cowboy culture than,
Hmm.
dog and cat veterinarian kind of stuff. So there's a lot more, and horses are big animals. So there's like rough handling involved. The stress levels are crazy high because you're putting your life at risk. So I am not in any way justifying, kicking a horse in the head.
Mm-hmm.
But, the stress levels are high. The pay is not great. And so I could see an atmosphere, brewing and coming to a head in that situation where he's just like, but again, awful human thing to do. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's always context, right? And videos online where it's like a 2-second clip, decontextualized outrage is the order of the day on the internet. So you always have to kind of, put an asterisk next to that.
To be fair, there is now a criminal investigation around this incident, right?
Right.
So it's not like this is one clip out of context. Like there have been charges filed by a horse owner. These weren't.
Yeah.
This wasn't her first rodeo. So
Literally.
literally. So like she knows that this isn't a normal practice. And you're totally right, Andrew. Like we can't judge. If you're not a farmer or a rancher, you don't necessarily understand the relationship between you and your animals. That being said, there are the animals that are out to pasture that you don't interact with, like bulls, that are dangerous animals. And then there are those animals that have to be your partners, including horses. You can't have a horse that's scared or mad at you. That is not part of the
Absolutely.
training process, right? They need to be
Exactly.
placid and trusting of humans in order to do their job. So again, kicking them in the face.
Right.
Woof.
Yeah. Well, I mean, add mix in here. These are wild horses, which are inherently more dangerous, I'd imagine. And the claim is that the owner was inexperienced and just trying to turn a buck with this program. And whenever doctors are involved in our community doing stuff that's caught on tape, it's a controversy. So, well, hopefully he'll be found and more answers will be forthcoming. If you think you know everything there is to know about Las Vegas, well, think again. Duck Duck Shed is a 3-day festival where the city's true story comes to life. From April 24th through the 27th, the Neon Museum brings you exclusive tours, expert-led panels, and engaging conversations with the architects, designers, and storytellers who built and are still building Las Vegas into the entertainment capital of the world. Duck Duck Shed, it's a phrase from the seminal architecture book Learning from Las Vegas. I'm excited to have been invited to give a talk at the fest about how we do and don't continue to learn lessons about our city's unique design. So, whether you're an industry professional or just love the city, Duck Duck Shed offers a deeper look into our growth, culture, and history. Tickets are on sale now at duckduckshed.com. Register today and be part of this one-of-a-kind celebration of Las Vegas. Don't miss out.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
All right, let's move on to subject 2. Andrew, the biggest homeowner in Clark County is a hedge fund? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Not sounding right all around. Yeah, according to a recent story in the Review Journal, Progress Properties owns 3,190 homes in Clark County, which this company rents out. So, I say to aspiring homeowners, meet your doom asile, where the roof is always on fire. So, some quick background.
I couldn't love you more, Andrew Corrali. You just, whatever it is, even if it doesn't land, you bring it, and I love that.
I rely on it not landing just for the extra cringe factor. So some background about the story about massive corporate ownership of stocks of houses all over the nation. This is like a Reese's peanut butter cup of late capitalist dystopia. So Progress Properties, this home rental management company that owns these 3,000 plus homes in Clark County, they're not just your garden variety shady corporate landlord. They're owned by a larger company called Pretium, and they are this $55 billion hedge fund. And I went to their website, and it's like rife with these aerial shots of eerie, homogeneous suburban developments because their website is about, quote, unlocking value in complex investments with high barriers to entry. So we've got a corporate landlord folded into the portfolio of a hedge fund, right? Hooray. So here's the thing is they're not just the only mass corporate homeowner in Southern Nevada. According to UNLV's Lead Center for Real Estate, as of 2023, other institutional investors owned 15% of the housing stock in Clark County and close to 25% in North Las Vegas. So
That's
these are
wild.
names. Yeah, it is insane. So in Clark, these names are like Invitation Homes, First Key Homes, and American Homes for Rent. So
they're just buying up stuff. Is that what's happening? If I'm a new couple and I'm looking to buy my first home, I'm competing with a hedge fund.
Yeah. So that's the problem, right? Is this mass corporate ownership of housing where they buy it and then they just rent it out. So not only does it raise rents because you have these sort of like essentially like local monopolies, but it's taking those homes out of the market for for sales. So it jacks up the prices by reducing available housing stock, and it just makes home ownership more difficult for the entities that should be able to buy homes, humans. So yeah, and also one kind of troubling wrinkle about this is this practice is also low key racist, right? These gigantoid investors, they're not just like randomly buying housing stocks, around the country. They target bigger cities, but mostly neighborhoods that have communities of color. So North Las Vegas, is it any surprise that they're targeting there? So so it's just kind of ugly all around. And I never put it past the hedge fund to be ruthlessly imaginative about how they can extract maximum wealth from these, kind of sleazy practices. And one thing I wonder is like, is there a way that these hedge funds are probably like have a discussion right now where they're saying, hey, how could we securitize these rental contracts and turn them into like tradable commodities, like they did with mortgages, right, in 2008. So I'm getting low key, Great Recession vibes again from all this. So it's just kind of sucks all around.
I absolutely understand that home ownership is such an important part of building wealth in the United States, but what if it isn't? I mean, would private equity owning so many homes be so problematic if it wasn't so ingrained?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I feel like it's sort of wishing away the fact that housing wasn't people's biggest expense, and it is, right? According to the latest figures from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, your housing expenses account for 33% of any given person's annual income, and after that, it's transportation. So I wish right now we were even in a place where we were talking about building generational wealth. I think the conversation should be about keeping working people from crushing debt, and this issue of massive corporate ownership of homes is keeping people in those in that cycle of debt. These the private equity ownership, these firms, they raise rents, they also impose new fees. They're not great with property management. They really go after tenants because they could afford the lawyers to really pursue tenants when they have disputes over things. So this is all from a nonprofit called Americans for Financial Reform, who recently did a study on this. So yeah, we're just talking massive transfer of wealth from low and middle income people to the highest echelons of the elite in the global economy.
It's interesting because in a way, this reflects the issue that we were having with Airbnbs and a lot of big cities were having with Airbnbs, right? That property investors were buying up our houses and turning them into short-term rentals. And legislature has been pretty effective at stopping that from happening in our communities. It's already been recognized through Airbnb legislation that limiting the housing availability in this way, making homes into rentals in this case, and limiting the amount of stock in a city that is already short on homes is
And
really problematic.
I mean, we
are,
are
yeah.
very, very short. 78,000, I think, was the last figure.
And I should also point out that landlords have immense power in the state of Nevada. I mean,
Yep.
you can evict someone so quickly. It's truly awful. So landlords have the upper hand, and in this case, they also own our housing. Like, where does someone get a leg up? And if you do get evicted, it's almost impossible to get housing again in the city.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And another thing about, it's like when you have a scenario where, these corporate landlords own thousands of homes in a certain, zip code or collection of zip codes, it's not like you can say, oh, the rent at house A is too high. I'm going to go next door to house B
Right.
because they're going to compete to try to get my money. If the hedge fund owns the house, house B as well, they could wait you out,
What if you get blacklisted from
Right, exactly.
25% of the housing in your
yeah.
community?
Yeah, so all kinds of really hideous network effects. And, and there's legislation that could probably deal with this, but honestly, I don't have high hopes for any of this legislation coming to fruition in the current regime. In 2023, State Senator Dina Neal proposed SB 395, which would limit how many houses a corporate owner could buy in a year. Lombardo, surprise, vetoed it. She's back again with a similar bill this session. At the federal level, Congressman Stephen Horsford has his, it's called the Housing Oversight and Mitigation Exploitation Act, which would put some limits on institutional investors and try to curb this bad behavior. But in the orange era that we live in, where's that going to go, right? So, and it's just, crazy idea. Should there be some things in life that shouldn't be a commodity, like a horse or a home or a medical debt? Does everything have to be securitized or turned into an investor instrument? So, I hope
not having a free horse. Like the house would be good. I'm okay with. I don't know where I put it, Andrew.
I don't know. In Las Vegas, it used to be every house had a horse. I also want to give a shout out to Congresswoman Dina Titus. She was a co-sponsor of the End Hedge Fund Control of America Homes Act. Oh, that's a mouthful. That was trying to lower the costs for housing, basically requiring hedge funds to divest of homes over a period of 10 years and have an excise tax on homes that they purchase. Look, a lot of people are going to say investments are investments. Houses are just on the market. And this company, like you said, Andrew, 3,190 rental properties. But, it's a little opaque as to who owns what, and bully to the RJ for tracking it down. I mean, they think that Progress Properties or whatever, the parent company, might own up to 4,500 properties in the community. So
there's always the shell game LLC factor, right? There's no transparency in terms of how many homes they actually own as well. So that's a great point.
Endgame doesn't always have to be as much money as possible. I'm so sick of this form of capitalism. Like,
I feel you.
There is enough money. And part of life, I believe, is working for other people and helping other people and serving other people. And that's where joy comes from.
I don't know. It sounds like you're making a critique. So I think that the hedge funds and all the housing people are going to just basically say, F off.
Yep.
Hi, this is Javon, your Blinds.com design consultant.
Oh, wow. A real person.
Yep. I'm here to help with everything from selecting the perfect window treatments to...
Well, I've got a complicated project.
No problem. I can even help schedule a professional measure and install. We can also send you samples fast and free.
I just might have to do more.
Whatever you need.
So the first room we're looking at is for...
Shop Blinds.com now and get up to 45% off with minimum purchase. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
We're shipping Easter gifts with a rapid-fire round of questions. Ready?
Yes. My gift. Can you pack it?
Yep.
Ship it?
Yes.
Guarantee it?
Of course.
Oh, send gift baskets?
For sure.
Protect electronics? Dog-proof it? Return it if they hate it?
Yes, no, and yeah.
Are you the UPS store?
Hey, we have a winner!
Visit theupsstore.com/guarantee for full details. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, prices, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Visit a store today.
All right, let's get to our last story, which maybe is good news. I don't even know. Is Vegas really one of the coolest like in Fonzie terms, cities in the country? Well,
Was that
one survey says so.
is
Fonzie,
that
is
what the
that not a good
survey?
reference for
No,
you?
I was just like, is that what the survey was asking? Which is the coolest Fonzie-like city? The Fonz?
Talk about a
Fonzian?
generational reference.
I don't know. What do the kids think is cool now? Is it that
Andrew just
Justin
called you
Bieber,
old.
that kid? Just joking.
No.
Oh my God. Anyway, look, here's the story. Now and again, we get not now and again, freaking every day, we get these rando surveys of where Las Vegas is on a wide spectrum
Usually near
of
the bottom.
topics. Oftentimes we are, but like sometimes they're pretty frivolous, like the best cities to have a lawn or the best peanuts in the country, like
Right.
whatever. It's just so random.
Viral
And it always,
listicles.
yeah, viral listicles. And they come from like Billy Bob Joe's HVAC and rotisserie chicken company or something. They're just like random.
Can I get a 2-in-1? What if
Yeah.
your house smelled like roasted chicken all the time when your AC turned on?
I would kind of love that for a little while. It's a PR strategy, to get people interested in whoever the source is. But one came across our email transom, and we were like, okay, so Las Vegas was called the second coolest city in
Who beat
North
us?
America.
I'm going to go there and pee on their
Boston
streets.
or
Who beat
something?
us?
Boston.
Boston was the coolest city?
Yeah. Now, here's
Ugh.
the criteria. We're very Portlandian, if you will. And no surprise, Portland came in third. The metrics were basically how many vegan restaurants do you have? How many tattoo parlors? Where can you find live entertainment?
The
of
record
course,
stores, I
Vegas,
think, was on there.
record stores was on there,
Those are
although
cool
that was
things. We've
probably
got
a
those
ding for
things.
us.
We just
But-
did a whole episode about how many amazing vegan restaurants we have here. That's true.
True. And other foodie type experiences. Tattoo parlors was pretty big, but also for Vegas, it was that there's so much entertainment available. It didn't
Yeah.
really get into the quality or caliber of the entertainment, but from Cirque du Soleil, and we have 18 of those, and et cetera, we ranked pretty high. And this comes from not the Rotisserie King, but something called Betway Insider, which is a Maltese gaming company. So I don't even know. It's from Malta. Malta thinks we're
Yeah.
cool. Hooray.
Oh, not the dogs.
No, the country of Malta.
Yeah, so random. But one of the things about the descriptions of the the honorees, if you will, is I am guaranteed that they plugged their seed list of standards and criteria. They plugged that into
Yeah.
like Chat GPT or something, because that was all written by AI. You could just tell by the generic enthusiasm of the blurbs.
Yeah, but here's what's so funny. We're so fiercely defensive of our city, all three of us here. But as soon as someone from the outside says we're like amazing, we're immediately suspicious of the the metrics and whether or not it was like artificial intelligence or whatever. I mean, why are we like this?
Because we're afraid if someone says our city is cool, because they're going to be like, oh man, I went to this day club and it was sick, and yeah, there's so much ketamine, and then it was so sick. Like that's what and you're just like, okay, fine, thank you for your money. That's my take on it. So we don't trust it because we always do the like, well, did you go off the strip? Did you go to our arts district? Did you go to my town?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Usually the praise
thank you for calling
is
us
limited
cool,
to.
but are we actually?
Yeah, and then usually their praise is limited to one of our, high-profile superficial features, and they don't really engage with our, get underneath the skin and talk about, our arts district, our beautiful, outdoors opportunities and things like that. So usually these things are a bit disingenuous and self-serving for the website that's publishing them, not about like, I really love Vegas. So it's not external, I guess you would say.
And you know what? Fine. I love Vegas, and I'm tired of defending it to all of my outsider friends. Great. Stay away. We'll take it. We don't need any more people moving here anyway. So there.
We're a little crowded, and there's not enough houses, I understand, and we're not always great to horses here.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Are we cool? What is Vegas actually
Hell yeah.
the best at more than any other city in the country? And you're not allowed to say gambling or hospitality because those are the obvious ones.
Yeah. I actually have a really touching earnest anecdote.
Me
fresh
too!
About how cool we are?
Awesome.
Oh my God, I want it.
Okay,
I
go,
want it
Andrew.
all. All right,
Yeah.
Andrew first and then Sarah, and then I'll see if I can add or if I'm just going to say goodbye.
Yeah, I was at a reading last night of a visiting author who's a fellow at the local literary think tank, Alejandro
Oh, yeah, he's so nice.
Heredia. Yeah,
I love
author
him.
of Loca. And one of the questions had to do with being in Vegas. I'm paraphrasing him, so this is not a direct quote. But he said, I didn't know what I was expecting, to get from Las Vegas in my time here, but it's going to be very difficult to leave because I have really connected. I was welcomed so much, plugged into a creative community, and I've made some real friendships here. And this was reflected in a conversation I had with some other friends, literary friends after dinner. And they're like, yeah, they recently moved here and bought a home, and they're like, yeah, the idea of Vegas hospitality refreshingly extends beyond the marketing and beyond the strip, and people here are sunny and welcoming and optimistic, and it's a real thing. And these people have lived, various places all over the world. So I would say we're best at, at actually earnest welcomingness, hospitality vibes. To put it
Hard
poetically.
second on that, Alejandro. I mean, luckily, I don't have to leave. I bought a house here. I live here now. But yeah, I moved now 3.5 years ago. And especially since coming on to CityCast a year and a half ago, I've just gotten so sucked into this amazing, welcoming, creative world that, again, as I brought up before, has a little bit of an insecure attachment style because people do tend to leave. But what brought me here, and what I think Las Vegas is maybe the best in the country at, is letting people just fly their freak flags. Before I moved here, I was here for an Elvis wedding, and the couple encouraged us to come in costume. I did a full Priscilla Presley look. The moment I sat in my Uber, beehive wig, huge cat eye, black, eye makeup, I sat in my Uber driver was a woman, and she said, "Oh my God, your hair looks amazing. How do you do that?" And the whole night when we were walking around on Fremont Street, walking around downtown, if anyone said anything to me, out of context of this wedding now, it was, "You look so good. You look amazing." I think it was really in that moment that I was like, I think I could live here. So I love Las Vegas's acceptance. And I love the fact you can fly your freak flag.
Amen.
All right, I've got nothing to add to that. That's the best. I was going to say that we're really good at marketing and hype, but you know what? I'd rather go with the earnest. So
yeah, I think we need some acoustic guitar strains to close that out
To wrap us
get
up.
the feels push the feels.
Andrew and Sarah, always lovely talking with you about our city because it is cool to have people like you around, and I'm really glad that CityCast Las Vegas could be part of it. Thanks for joining us on the Friday News Roundup.
We're passionate about Vegas, and so are you, David. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. Our producers this week were Sonia Cho Swanson, Layla Muhammad, and Selena Say Reynolds. Our newsletter editor is Rob Coucherese, and our hosts are me, David Figler, and the amazing Sarah Lohman. Music is by OG Moose, Epidemic Sound, and All the Kimonos, with additional music by Bagel, courtesy of Epidemic Sound. We recorded the show on the traditional homelands of the Nuwuvi, the Southern Paiute people. If you enjoyed the show, please go tell a friend. Nothing better than sharing the good love and coolness of our city. You can also leave us a review, rate the show, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Las Vegas. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky. Now I'm wondering what's in his self-mixed medicine.
Ooh. That's part of the concern, right? Animal medicines can be used by people. You got to track that shit.
Ketamine, shout out.